Hey there everyone, this is Mystic Fish, and welcome to episode 19 of our Factorio series on building an expandable base. We are continuing our way working through the sciences. I'm going to do this episode slightly differently from the previous ones. Astute viewers may note that we have yellow science up and running. It took me a while to figure this all out, and I felt like it was going to be a better use of my time to just give you a tour of how this works rather than sort of assemble it together. There's not really any techniques in here that we haven't seen before, so I think in the interest of moving on, I know how much people can't wait till we begin the actual playthrough, so I figure that means I can save some time on the recording side and we can get on to the actual playthrough sooner. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how this works. We'll start with the factory planner, and let's see. Can I recreate all this? I can recreate all this. So let's do that. So we'll create a new one, which is yellow science. And as always, we're going to start with our 1350 science per minute on yellow science. We'll turn on the matrix solver. And we will get our stuff in here. Steel is a raw ingredient. Copper's a raw ingredient. Iron's a raw ingredient. Coal's a raw ingredient. These are not. Sulfuric acid is not. Sulfur is not. And I think this will cover it. So we actually only have four solid ingredients here, and the rest are pipes. I can tell you from the experience here that working the pipes through this stuff is actually really hard. It turns out that if we want the undergrounds to be able to be downgraded to yellow, that it just makes it really awkward to do pipes in various ways, and we'll see some examples of that. I got it to work here in a couple of ways, but anyway, that is what we're going to do here. Now, we have way more than a half a belt of copper here. This is actually probably the biggest ingredient. What I decided to do here, though, was because there's only 4 solid ingredients, I figured to see if we could actually get scale this down to one full blue belt of copper. And so that's what we did. So we currently have 1350. Nope. We want to multiply. We want to get to the full blue belt is 2700, and we want to divide by the current amount here, which is 23,876. So that means we have to scale down to 152. 152. Okay, and that gets down to 152. Then we need to check how many of these builds we will need. So divide that by 152. That means we're going to need 9. So if we do 1350 divided by 9, it gives us 150. So we can actually downgrade this all the way to 150. Okay. Very good. So, and then everything else is, I believe, less than a half a belt, except for the copper cables. We can direct most of the copper cables we can see are going into green circuits. We end up direct inserting them, and then the remaining copper cables that have to go into red circuits, that's less than half a belt. So that is all fine. So we have less than a half a belt of most of this stuff. So this is what we want to go for, is the 150. And what I decided to do was try to get as much of the liquid processing done up front as possible. And so, as usual, we're bringing in our petroleum gas here. We can get the sulfur and the plastic sort of with one connection and then be done with petroleum gas. And then similarly with the water, once we get the sulfuric acid and the sulfur, we can be done with the water. So that's why I wanted to do these up front. Similarly, once we get the plastic, we can be done with the coal. Now, when we do this, it turns out that the sulfur is offset here. So we do need to check that if we only have 6 beacons of this, that we still only need 1 chem plant making sulfur. And yeah, we barely need any chem plants making sulfur. So that is going to be okay. All right, now here's our full belt of copper. And what I decided was that the thing that's the hungriest for the copper are the low density structures, right? They consume the vast majority of the copper that is coming in here. And in particular, once the low density structures are done, the remaining copper all comes, this plus this, right, is what is not being used by the low density structures. Actually, you can see the LDS uses a little over half a belt, right? Half a belt is 1350 items per minute. So once we're done with the LDS, then we only need half a belt of copper after that. However, LDS does have 3 inputs and 1 output. And so what I ended up doing was splitting the copper here. And basically half of it goes into this underground to go further up the build. And then the other half comes in here and then gets put on the inside of this belt. Now we can see here that it's actually only the left side that is able to make progress here, mostly. And so it's really the right side of this original belt that's coming up these undergrounds here. That's gonna factor in a moment later. Okay, but we do need the iron. Here's the iron coming in. We have it on its own belt to start with. And we are doing the underground trick here, right? So we're putting the plastic onto a belt. It hits the bottom of this underground and then is able to join the iron on this belt. So this is a belt with iron and plastic. There is a lot of belt juggling that is going to happen through this build. But in particular, and then we're bringing for the moment, the steel is coming up this inner one here. So what are we doing here on this splitter? So we have iron and plastic and steel, but we actually need the plastic and steel for the low density structures. So what we're doing is we have a splitter set with iron filtered to the left because we put the steel, right? The steel is actually on the right side of the belt. That's how we're bringing it in. And then because of this trick, we're getting the plastic on the left side of the belt. And we're putting the iron similarly on the right side of the belt with the steel, which basically means that we can swap the steel and the iron with this one splitter because they're both on the right side. So that is going on. Now, here is the sulfuric acid. We need the sulfuric acid 2 places further up the build. One for blue circuits and one for batteries. So one of the hardest things was figuring out how to just weave the stupid sulfuric acid pipes all the way up here. And so we're going to be switching sides like, you know, it's like, oh, we ran up here, we came over to come up this aisle for a little while, right? It's good to come up this side because this side of the low density structures only gets 1 inserter per machine, whereas this side needs to do an input and an output. So otherwise, this is pretty straightforward, right? We're getting both of the inputs in from this side. We're getting the copper in from this side and sticking the LDS out on the other side. Now, I did the calculation, and after there is enough copper to keep 4 LDS assemblers going. But then we need more copper for the last one. And so this is where that right side of the copper belt comes into play. We can see the right side of the belt is moving. Because we have this underground here, the stuff on the left side is hitting the wall of this underground. So only the right side is getting up here, plus whatever is left on the original copper belt coming through. Okay, so that is LDS. And in particular, that really cuts down on the amount of copper that we need. Now, unfortunately, we can't get rid of any other ingredients because we need copper still for red circuits, and we need steel for engines and flying robot frames. So we got to preserve both of those. Here's our sulfuric acid continuing up the side. All of these things are still beacon unaligned as we would like. Okay, next, it's time to do circuits, and so this is a build very similar to what we've seen before. If we come and look, we only need 2 assembly machines making copper cables. We only need 2 assembly machines making green circuits, and so we've set things up this way. And so it turns out that between them, this, as it balances out, what ends up happening is that they can keep these busy enough, and then this last one can generate the copper cables for the red circuits. So that is what's going on here. I suppose we do not actually. Turns out we do not need an underground there, so that's okay. All right. Now here let's go back. We have some belt weaving business going on here. So we bring the plastic and the steel up here. We still need the plastic for the red circuits, but we don't need the steel. So here we filter the plastic right, and the steel goes on the left, and we can carry the steel further up as we go. Okay, on this side we have again some like fun belt weaving stuff. So from here after, we really want to put the remaining iron and copper together because that, we need both of those for the green circuit build, and then we also need them all the way up here at batteries, right? Batteries also need copper and iron. So we want to put those together, and so we're doing that by, we have a filter splitter here that's filtering the LES left, so that puts them here. The copper that's on the right side comes over here, and it hits this unattached underground, but we can see it can slide past the little wall of the underground, and then it spits it onto this belt here. The iron comes over, joins up with the copper. Then we do another filter over here. This time we filter the LES to the right, and that allows the copper and the iron to go on the left here. We won't need the LDS until we actually get to the yellow science, so we've stuffed it on the inner lane here, and we're continuing up with the iron and the copper here. Meanwhile, we're outputting the green circuits on the same belt as the plastic, because that will help us out with the red circuits. We're continuing to bring the sulfuric acid up the side here. Okay, so now let's talk here. What's going on here? We need to get copper cables on this side, but on the right side of the belt, right? So that the red circuits can get them and output the red circuits on the outside of the belt. And so to do that, we're emitting these on this side of the belt. They are sneaking in through the underground onto the bottom, and then doing this little trick here to get them on the inside of the belt. Okay, this is all good. We see the copper cables are both beacon offset, but one of the green circuits is beacon aligned, so we do need to come back and check that that means that we have an average of seven beacons per machine, and we can see that we still only need 2 green circuit machines, so that ends up being okay. All right, due to some weaving around of stuff, we have to we slide the sulfuric acid over into the middle here so we can get it up to the blue circuits. And I couldn't figure out how to get everything through here, so we had to jog over here. That was how I figured out how to do it. Let's see. Otherwise, then once we're done with the copper cables, we can bring the copper and iron onto the inner lane until we need them again for the batteries. Okay, now let's see what happens here. So this is just continuing. All right, once we're done with the red circuits, and let's see, we should note that the red circuits are beacon aligned, and so they each only have 6 beacons. But we still only need 2 machines, so that is okay. Once we're done with the red circuits, we no longer need plastic, but we still need green circuits because both electric engines and flying robot frames require green circuits. So we need to hold on to the green circuits, but we're done with the plastic. So the way we handle that is we have a splitter here that's filtering the red circuits left. That allows the red circuits to come on this side of the belt here and go through. The copper cables, which we don't need anymore, end up on this side, but they run into the side of this underground, and so they don't get through onto the belt. On this side, we use the same underground trick that grabs that allows the green circuits through, but blocks the plastic. And then we can spit them over here, and then the green circuits end up on the same belt with the red circuits. Okay. We then finally get to use the sulfuric acid for the first time. I decided to route things this way, so up and in, and then across, and then continuing up the other side. And, you know, I looked into potentially putting another underground here and continuing up this lane, but this is where we start to run into problems because I need 2 tiles at least to bring it in. I need 2 tiles for the inserters, and so this underground can only jump 4 things. So I couldn't continue up this way, so I cut through the middle, which I had to leave space in the middle anyway, and then continue up this side. Now, one of these blue circuits is beacon aligned, so we do need to check the blue circuit. If these have an average of 7, we still only need 2, so that is okay. Otherwise, we're grabbing the green circuits and the red circuits directly in. We're done with red circuits once we have finished the blue circuits, so we filter them out here and allow the green circuits through. Let's see, what is going on up here? Up here, now, we still don't need the low density structures, but we do need to get access to the steel because we're going to need it for some of the next things that we're building. So we filter the steel out to the right. But then we need to switch sides of the belt for it so that we can stick gears out over here for part of the engine build. So we do that by filtering the steel left and then putting it onto the side of the belt like that. Okay, up here we finally, remember we had our iron and copper here on the inner lane. We use this filter splitter to filter the green circuits to the right. That puts the green circuits on the inside and the copper and iron on the outside. That allows the gears and pipes to grab them. Here's our sulfuric acid continuing up this side. We put the gears out here with the steel so we can run them up to the engines up here. But we direct insert the pipes into the engines, and that saves us from putting them on a belt. Okay, and then we direct insert from the engines into the electric engines. And so here the electric engines need the green circuits in. They're putting the electric engines out. They're getting the engines in from here, and then this is what I decided to do with lubricant. I decided that rather than trying to figure out how to fish another pipe through here, well, I considered 2 things. One was I could have figured out how to bring either lubricant or heavy oil in from this end and maybe fish it through this way. But then I realized, you know what? Like, I only have one of these machines that needs the lubricant in this whole build, so I'm going to just do it crosswise. So I'm going to do the oil processing out to the side here, and I'm going to hop it across, bring it into the electric engines, and then hop it over to the next column like that. And so that's how I'm going to handle the lubricant here. And I may, especially when we get to space science, that's the last remaining thing that we're going to have to do. There are multiple fluids that are involved there, and I may use this same strategy again to sort of weave things through the side. Well, we'll have to see what that ends up looking Okay, so we get our electric engines out. We put them with the green circuits. The flying robot frames need both of those, so that's fine to have them both on the same belt. They also need steel, but we need to block the gears. So we filter the steel to the right that blocks the gears. It gives us places to put the flying robot frames when they come out. Let's see. And then the batteries are directly inserted into the flying robot frames from both sides. So we lost track of here's our sulfuric acid coming on this side of the blue circuits. We hop it up, we jump out another lane, we hop through here, and then we can finally get into the batteries. Our copper and iron belt continues on the inside, then we hop it to the other side. And we have just enough belt here. This one hops over this. We have just enough belt here to let the batteries grab a hold of it. Let's see. We do need to check beacon alignment. So the electric engine is beacon aligned. So we need to make sure that this works if we have 6 beacons. And we still only need 1 machine, so that is okay. And we have one of the flying robot frames is aligned. Actually, okay, so let's see. One flying robot frame is aligned. So that is an average of 7. And actually, I just realized this. All of the yellow sciences are beacon aligned, but we still only need 3 of them. So that ends up being fine. Okay, so then let's see, what is going on here? Oh, let's see, I didn't talk about where the blue circuits went. So the blue circuits get on their own belt at first, here. So they're on their own belt here. And then when we filter the steel out onto its own belt so that we can use it for the engines and other things, that also filters the blue circuits onto the left belt with the low density structures. We can see that the blue circuits are coming through here. So that's what happened to the blue circuits. And so those just come through and come up here for the yellow signs to grab them. The flying robot frames come out onto the same belt with the steel, and then we run them into this underground over here to hop them across and do this doohickey so we can get the flying robot frames on the inside and have space for the yellow circuits or yellow signs to come out on the outside. And holy crap, that took me a long time to figure out. You can see that, like, as we started doing, like, I couldn't fully compact it. Like, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Like, I needed some splitters and undergroundy stuff in here, and so sometimes I had to leave extra space between some of the assembly machines in the chain. And you know what? I'm just gonna live with it. It's fine. This has the property that I want, which is that we can reuse the beacons and stamp out multiple columns of these side to side, and we already know we have a clear upgrade path for this type of build. So this, I think, checks the boxes, even if it may not be as fully compact as we might be able to figure out. Maybe some of you can go do that if that is something that interests you. But this is going to be good enough for me, I think. So this is yellow science. So let's see. I think the only other thing that we have to do is we have to think about how is this going to fit here, because I'm pretty sure this is longer than one of our grids. So if I grab this stuff down to here, yeah, this sticks off the side of the grid. So that means, and we know that we're going to need 9. So we are going to have to, we would have to break it across 2 grids anyway. So we'll probably do like 5 and 4 or something with some oil processing in the middle, as we talked about earlier. Let's get another grid over here. We are going to have to figure out how we're fitting roboports into this stuff eventually. But that is definitely going to be a problem for future Mystic Fish. Let's get our stone path in here. All right, so now where's my thing? Okay. So I think what we're gonna do is, let's see. I guess we can come this far over. And so if we zoom in, it looks like I should break this between the low density structures and the green circuits. So what that's going to mean is we're going to grab, ooh, that's there's some fun stuff going on here. I guess I can grab this much here. Okay, that cut it. So that's what I wanted. I guess we can back this up a little bit. All right, and then we're going to need not that one. So we will need to come back this way. And then we're going to grab the rest of this. And let's see. I guess that's already... This will work. We can do that. And then hop this across. That one's already done. That doesn't quite work. Okay. And then these will just all come across like this. I guess we are hopping that guy there. And that guy there. And that guy there. Okay. So that's going to be yellow science. Which means that the actual build is going to... And let's see, this is all set up to continue, so that's okay. So that means that the actual build, I think we can get rid of this. And then we can grab this. And then we can stick that down in here. Something's in the way, okay. Fine, you can go there. All right, let's fill this stuff in here. I guess you can go there. We are going to need another power pole there. We are going to need to get power up here. That's okay, that means we need power here. All right, it seems like we're out of stuff. Modules. Okay, we'll fill that stuff in. Guess we have to remember what we're sticking in here. So we know this is coal. And so, let's see. I guess we can put, for this we'll do a dot for nothing and then coal. So we know that's a half belt. Then, let's see. We're going to move this down. Let's see, this starts out as steel. So this is steel. Which means this is nothing and steel. And then this is the iron. And so this will be nothing. And then iron. And then what's over here? This is a full belt of copper. Full belt of copper. Okay. So that way we have all those inputs marked. I do want to make sure this all ends up working again. Oh, I need the petroleum gas. Okay, which I guess we can mark like this. And then we also need water. Water. Like this. Oops. Yes. Okay. All right. We're making plastic. We're making sulfur. We're making sulfuric acid. We're making low density structures. We're going across the path. We're making green circuits. We're making copper cables. We're making red circuits. We are not making, because we need to get the sulfuric acid through here somewhere. So let's do this. And then do this. Does that connect? It does not connect. Ugh. Really? How close are we? One away. Oh, come on. Jeez. Oh, here's where we can go. We can get rid of this. We can move this up, and then we can move this up, and then that connects it. Okay, that's fine. So now we got sulfuric acid in, which means hopefully we're building blue circuits, which we are. We're clearly making gears. And we've made engines. So that's okay. You're stuck on pipes. You don't, right? You need lubricant. Let's see. So that means you are here. And you need a lubricant guy. Should also mark you. Lubricant. It's coming out the side. We know that will continue the other way. Okay, we're making electric engines. We are making batteries. We're making flying robot frames, and we are making the yellow signs. All right, so let's see how we're doing on our production stats. After a minute, I guess we have to wait for this to ramp up. We are looking for 150 on average. So we need to let this run for most of a minute, and then we'll be able to see. Okay, so this is it. That was actually, even just saying how it worked, is sort of plenty of an episode here. Well over half an hour just to go over it and see how this is all working. But I hope you are okay with that format. Like I said, I think that means that we can get through the episodes a little faster this way if I figure it out and then just give you a tour rather than rebuilding it. So, especially because when I've done that in the past, sometimes I forget how I built it, and then I didn't take notes, and then you know, it's like, oh, it takes me multiple takes to like record the video. And so it's like, no, you know what? I got it working. Let me just give you a tour. That is how that is working. Let's see. Do we have a minute worth of production now? We do. We're getting 153, which is great. Somewhere around in here in the middle. What is that? That's 143. I think we're getting, you know, we can see the average right here. It is around 150, 153. I guess if we're concerned about it, because we are pretty close to the tolerance here of 150, and you know, we could just do a 10th column, and that would definitely produce as much as we needed. So, so I might do that. We have enough room for it, and yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so that's yellow science. That is what we've got for today. Only one science remaining, which is the space science. That is going to be a doozy if this one is any indication. So, but we've also seen how to produce a bunch of these stuff now. We know how to make blue circuits and sulfuric acid and LDS. So we know how to do a bunch of the stuff that we need for space science. Rocket fuel is actually pretty straightforward, other than, you know, figuring out how to snake the light oil in here somehow. And what's the last thing? I guess blue circuits and then speed modules, which also need red and green, which we put together. So we actually maybe have a good chunk of what we need for space science already designed from some of our sort of prior pieces here. So hopefully that won't take as long for me to figure out. But that is definitely a problem for future Mystic Fish at this point. So as always, I will go ahead and pull all the blueprints here, scale them down, measure their science per minute, all that kind of stuff, and annotate them, and publish the blueprints along with this video. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye.